Hey, Mark. Long time no see, my friend.
Hey Andy,
How you doing?
this season continues, man. This is a 12 month a 12 month roll, right? Like the
Yeah.
NFL and college football. This is 12 month, and this is the next iteration, going from the bowl season and the senior bowls and all of those type of entryways into the combine.
Yeah. What sweatshirt you got on today?
Today I have on Kentucky.
No, the Wildcats, man. Didn't they get
Yeah,
stomped last night by Auburn
they did.
on the
Auburn
hard
beat
court?
them last night, and I was at the Garden to see St. John's win the Big East tournament
And
season
oh,
title for the first time in 40 years. So, if our listeners are up at this time, it's go Johnnies, baby, go
that's right.
Johnnies.
Tony Montana strolling the sidelines.
It was a whiteout,
Woo!
and they were giving away
Only
shirts, but I was not sitting in the lower deck. I was sitting in the 200s to get the whiteout shirts that they were giving out.
Yeah, that's all right.
But you know
Godfather
what?
Godfather was representing.
Yes, I had my Godfather shirt on, and I did get two compliments. One on the train going, and one in the stadium. I was sitting next to some old timers in the section, and they enjoyed the shirt. So thank
Nice.
you, appreciate that, Andy.
They look good, man. I think they're obviously going to be they'll be the top seed in the Big East tournament, and if they roll through that tournament, could be an argument that they may be a number one seed in one of the four brackets,
That would be
four
some
regions.
accomplishment, Andy.
Be unbelievable, man. But not surprising for Patino, you know.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday in his humble beginnings at Boston University,
Yeah,
to Providence, to going to Kentucky, to Louisville, to Iona, uh, and now here. But you forget in between, he rescued the Knicks in 1985
yeah,
and really had a good run there. And then I think in the 90s, he was the head honcho of the Boston Celtics.
yeah, man. Wow. Yeah, he's a bit like Saban. And that's
Yeah.
all he's ever done, right? Is coach. He's coached basketball. He's just been doing it forever, and has had tremendous success. So
Yep.
two
So
weeks, man. 2 weeks will be a selection show. So we're in March. So March Madness has begun.
yep.
Yeah. So all right. Well, Saturday Sensei listeners, glad you're back. As we talked about our schedule, Mark and I are tapping the brakes a bit here in the off season, so you won't get us every week. But we came back here to do a little post combine wrap up. Albeit we're not going to catch some of the defensive stalwarts perhaps today. I think our offensive. I think it's linemen that are performing today. But we've got some notes and some highlights from some of the D linemen and some of the O tackles that have already either gone or will be going today, and then we'll cover positions. But this is a bit of a wrap up, I guess, for the season for those that have declared for the draft, and a lot of the players we talked about and watched this past season. They're looking to make their mark at the next level. So we'll cover here a bit of the combine performance, and then we'll come back at you. I don't know, probably in a month's time or so as we gear up for the draft outside of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So
Yep, the
exciting
road
stuff.
show continues.
Yeah, yeah. So what it's interesting to me just with the combine. I was thinking about this morning, but now you go back and watch some of the film of the days of Brady and 20, 30 years ago, and these guys had baggy white t-shirts. It basically just showed up in their workout gear of the time and their whatever sneakers they had to go run, and it was highly varied in terms of both performance and style and technique. And you watch these guys now, man, and you can tell there's probably one or two firms or coaches that all these guys are going to, because they're all wearing the same tight stuff, the same shoes, with the exception of one prospect, who's on my sheet. We'll talk about him today, but their technique, just how they come out of the block and when they straighten up in their form, all very, very similar. So much more standardized now.
To me, Andy, it's scripted, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's
It's a good word. It's a good word.
right, and it's prepared,
Yeah.
and there's preparation behind it, and I'm not sure that those results really resemble success on the field and what you can project going forward. And that's always been the case. But to your point, to me, it's more like a laboratory.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've always asked about it too. Which hopefully at some point we'll get a guest on here who's a bit of an expert in the area, but just, um, why the certain tests, why do they do the 40? Why do they do the vert? Why do they do the bench press? What, again, how does that translate into on-field performance? And, really the answer is you got to have some objective way to measure these guys, right? And assess. And clearly you have the tape and what they did at the college level and all those, and they scour over those. But um, just the raw athleticism and the ability to perform at that next level, because it is another level, another gear for both size, speed, and agility. So there's been years and years, and I think it is much more of a science in terms of the specifics that they run these guys through, the criteria, the parameters, and all that. But it's some of the the best that they have. I think probably the vertical, the lateral movement, and north south are probably the three most important. I don't know so much about the bench press and some of that. I mean, it gives you a sense of a guy's strength, overall. But lateral movement, north south, and the ability to jump for certain positions. I think those three probably are pretty solid telltales, right, of athleticism. And
Yeah,
who shows up, right? Who's prepared? Who shows up?
yeah. I mean, to me, it's really an indicator for can these prospects really quickly and successfully transition to the speed of the game,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And to
right.
your point, when you're looking at the 40, you're looking at the high jump, you're looking at the broad jump. These are things where the speed and just the reflect,
Explosiveness.
yeah, of
Yeah,
how the game is different from the college game. May
yeah,
give you a better inkling of, what, this guy's going to transition a lot faster. His adjustment time will be less.
yeah, yeah. But there's always those guys that are maybe top half or in the top quartile that don't really stand out, and yet they turn into exceptional NFL players, right? So there's always exceptions to the rule. But anyhow, well, let's get into it. We're gonna go through from our standpoint a couple of the key positions and folks that stood out, and then Mark and I will kind of give you our um, mock draft, if you will, make the top 10, or who we think going near the top. And then we'll close it out, just a bit of an overview of what that environment's going to be like for the draft, April 24th through the 26th. So why don't we kick it off with position, Mark? Where do you want to start?
I think we should start at the defensive ends. Obviously, first day, right? We've
Mhm.
tried to structure this in terms of the days so it kind of follows the flow.
Yeah.
And when you think about the impact players of the draft, right, where the money positions are, it's usually the edge,
Mhm.
right? And
Yep.
and and when you look at that, and you talked about the science to the combine, James Pierce really sticks out as a physical specimen that
Hmm.
really aced the tests of the combine. This guy's speed, he's thin, he's wiry, he's tall, but his spin move and how he'll be able to rush the passer, to me, was a big shining moment for him in the combine.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we talked about him in one of our weeks. I don't know what week that was. It had to have been probably mid-season, I'm guessing. But we had picked out. I think we had I think it was our episode entitled "The Big Nasty," I think, and we talked about some of the biggest, baddest players in the league. And you had your buddy, is it Williams from Georgia, the edge rusher from Jalen Williams? Is that it?
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
linebacker, edge rusher.
Yeah. Yeah, you had him, and I had Pierce highlighted at that time as well too. But yeah, 6'5", 245. But his performance on the field this weekend, 4.47 in the 40, and vert was a little less to be desired at 31 inches, but still his overall ranking and his performance this weekend turned out to be I think lived up to the hype. Yeah, even during the season, he was projected from the edge standpoint was in one of the top five, and I suspect that'll end up being the case. And some, I think he's probably a first rounder, but yeah, he was impressive. The other kid who really seemed to impress quite a bit was the Shamar Stewart from A&M. I don't know if you caught his performance at all, but another edge at 6'5", 270, so a bit bigger than Pierce. But this kid ran at 6'5", 267, ran a 4.59 40 and has a 40-inch vertical leap. So athleticism isn't short in with this young man. So I think he probably goes pretty high, and my guess is he may actually go higher than Pierce.
I did have Shamir as my number two. Again, more of the combine, though Texas A&M did have a great defense. But James Pierce, like you said, is really a good example of having a stellar season. To your point, you talked all year, Andy, Tennessee, what a great defense they had, right? How fast they were, how quick to the ball they were, and he was part of it. Shamir Stewart just really showed up and showed out at the combine. Like you look at his stats on each of those vital areas, he's top three in each one, you know?
Yeah, he had a really good performance. Another kid that stood out was edge defensive end from Nebraska, Ty Robinson, 6'5", 290, large human being, moving down the field at 4'8", 340 and a 33.5-inch vertical and almost 30 reps on the bench. So this kid's probably going to be a beast, and whether or not they keep him on the outside or they beef him up and get him to 300 plus and move him a bit inside to a tackle position, but still one of your classic Husker defensive linemen.
I had him on my tackle list. To your point, I think he's a tweener, and I wouldn't shock me if they move him inside. But yes, his performance was just extraordinary. But again, another guy you talked about all year long with Rule, that he rebuilt that defense, and this guy was a big part of it.
Yeah, he was. He was. A couple other guys I had on my list that at least are probably noteworthy. Jordan Birch out of Oregon, Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, and then more of a true defensive lineman, but Mason Graham, most likely one of the top, if not the top defensive linemen / edge guys that probably gets picked up. But those were the guys that I think probably both. And Graham, I don't think Graham was participating in the combine. I'm sure he'll do Michigan's Pro Day.
He didn't show up at the combine along with a lot of other guys. One guy that you did not pick up, and I had said to you, I think during one of our weeks, when we were picking out the defensive player of the week, and I said, Andy, you got to see this guy from Boston College. He's a monster. He's fast. He's strong. He's all over the field, and he showed up well. Donovan Izaraku, and again, kind of like Pierce, he's a good blend of had a great season, had a great bowl season. He had a great senior all-star season, and he showed well at the combine. I think this guy is going to be an all-pro someday in the NFL, and he's someone I would look for where he goes in the draft and who drafts him, going to a Philadelphia Eagles and a team that's stacked where he just becomes another piece. Maybe he goes to Detroit and he plays on the other side and really becomes a great complementary piece. But I did like him quite a bit.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll see. He's kind of small though, so whether or not they keep him, be interesting to where he ends up in the NFL. He's only 6'2.5", 248,
Yeah,
right? So compared to, Pierce Jr. and some of these other guys, just his height and his reach, may limit him, but athleticism and, his ability to, as you said, perform during the game, no questions on that. And seems to have great quickness and the ability and agility, right? The ability to slip blocks and new maneuverability. So whether or not they keep him outside there as he goes to the next level, or perhaps they, move him into the linebacking core, outside linebacker or something like that. So, but yeah, I forgot about him.
yeah. So that was it for defensive end. I do want to talk a little bit about the tackles to your point, and I know in today's world you can exchange them, right? Like you talked about, do they go inside? Do they go outside? Um, when you looked at Georgia's defense this year, they were fast and they were athletic. And when you look at the combine, so many of the Georgia players just excelled. And if you caught Tyron Dawkins for
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, he had an outstanding combine. His skills stats were high. He was top 3 in most categories. And you just look at him, to your point, a physical specimen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I had another, we just mentioned him in the last one, but Mason Graham. He's one of the top expected to go first round for sure, and most likely will have success at the next level. Not overwhelmingly big weight wise, pushes 300. They'll probably get him above that, 6'3.5". But he certainly will play at the next level. Interesting to see what will happen with. We talked about this, and he was part of the team that was a multi-week Big Fugly winner, but your buddy Josh Farmer out of Florida State, right? 6'3", 305, ran just over 5 ticks in the 40, 30-inch vert, 26 on the bench. But suspect that eventually he'll be a starter. It'll be interesting to see just how he takes to the next level and his discipline and his football IQ. What that some of these guys who are kind of in between or question marks, they can either they can go one of two ways. Either they really double down and figure out that the next level is the next level, both on and off the field, and tend to find their way and then find a home in the league for quite a bit of time, or it's just too much. It's the playbooks, the schemes, the studying, the film, all that. Some guys just don't. So it'll be interesting to see where he shakes out, right? Because you got guys like who's a kid from Ohio State a few years ago, Chase. Was it Chase Young? That's the last
Chase
one.
Young, he was the first pick or second pick in the draft
Yeah,
by
and
Washington.
he's under delivered, I think, at the next level.
He's fallen off. He's on the second or third team now, and
Yeah,
he has not been the presence that he was projected to be.
yeah,
When you're playing that position, that's what you paid for. I mean, for me, I had Ty Robinson. To your point, I didn't know whether he'd be inside or outside.
yeah,
But those are guys from a combine perspective, and some of them are a mix. But, one of my dark horses that I had said to you as I was watching the All-Star season, as I love to watch the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine game, the Hula Bowl, was this guy that stood out, and he had a decent combine. I just think he reminds me of Russell Maryland, and I can see this guy being a great pro. And that's the guy from Toledo with a motor, Darius Alexander.
Yeah. He did have a good All-Star season.
And I don't think he did poorly at the combine. Was he top notch? No, but he was in the top half of these drills. So again, I do think that he's going to be an impact player at the next level.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, well, maybe transition into one of the more electric position categories for the combine, but defensive backs. Get
Yeah,
some.
when you look at this draft, Andy, this draft is deep in defensive linemen. It's deep in tight ends, and it's deep in defensive backs. That's
Yeah.
where you're going to get a lot of solid starters in this league going forward. And the cornerbacks usually excel in these type of drills because of their athleticism.
Yeah, and who stood out? The kid that stood out to me, which is more of a is a safety, strong safety candidate, but was this kid from South Carolina, Emowari. Right, his performance was just exceptional. I think
It
he had a
was. He's more of a safety.
yeah, 4.3840 and a 43-inch vertical, top safety at the combine in terms of just those numbers and his performance during the season too. A lot of highlight reel ability and performances, but his physical stats too, just his size and reach. He'll be difficult. He's very reminiscent of Sean Taylor.
He is.
The
That's
late
a
Sean Taylor.
very good comp, Andy.
Yeah.
To your point, the guy had an extraordinary combine, but he's been great all season, and he's just a shutdown corner. But he's a safety.
Yeah.
He just has that athleticism, and I think he's the first safety off the board. Him and the guy from Notre Dame that got hurt.
Mm.
Um, I forgot who his name is, but I do remember him and asking you, where is he in this Notre Dame run? And his season was cut short because of injury. He did not show at the combine either.
Yeah, Xavier Watts.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's who that was. Watts. I do
six
remember
foot.
that name.
Yeah, 6 foot 204. So he does fit that probably soft side or weak side safety. But yeah, Emawari is he will be a force to be reckoned with at 6'3", 220. Right, so they'll probably play him just about that size. I don't think maybe they'll trim him up a tiny bit, but yeah, he'll be a force to be reckoned with
I
from
mean,
the
to
safety.
me, Andy, this guy's a monster back. He's like that fourth, fifth defensive back. Maybe he can play a little linebacker.
Yeah.
He's just he's a player.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I would say that the depth probably is at the corners for sure, and just a couple of guys. Performance wise, a kid from Kentucky, Maxwell Harrison, stood out. 4.2840, nearly a 40-inch vert, solid quickness, and then Jade Barron from Texas were kind of the two that I pointed out. Of course, your boy Hunter is certainly probably top of the pops there. It'll be interesting to see where he gets picked up and what he gets picked up for. I assume it will be for the defensive skills that he has. But yeah, Harrison and Barron were the two that just kind of popped for me.
I had Harrison on top of the board just because of
Mhm.
his skill set in the combine. But if you looked at a guy out of Iowa State, Darian Porter,
Yeah, yeah.
he was very impressive. And this guy Za Frazier, I
Mm,
would I would think is going to be someone where they'll find him and he'll be a starting quarterback in this league soon, maybe third year from Texas San Antonio.
yeah. Yeah, this kid from Iowa State, Darian Porter, 6'3", 195, a little on the slimmer side, but he's
He's
got
long.
certainly got the reach
Yep.
and but his speed 4.340 sub 1.5. He's a 1.49 10-yard split, so explosiveness, and then 36 and a half inch vert, so almost an 11-foot broad jump too. So this guy's got athletic skills overall, and yeah, he'll be a eventually will be starting at the next level. But
I think
that's pretty
so.
cool.
And that's what the combine brings out in this position. It just shows the freaks that these guys are and the skill sets and a lot of it at these positions does translate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one guy that didn't, again, pro day, I'm sure he'll perform. We didn't talk about is Will Johnson, quarterback out of Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. That's right. He didn't, and I'm not sure why. Again, just the growing trend that really irks me. I would love to see the guy from Colorado. He's a great athlete. Let's see how he stacks up against these
Yeah.
guys, right?
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and you miss that.
yeah. Well, and I think too, just we talked about the combine and the various tests. I mean, those are one thing, but it's a massive stage, right? Both live at Lucas Oil, with scouts and coaches and doctors and scientists, just everybody's watching you. All eyes are on you when you're doing the drills, including your competition, right? That are competing for a higher draft spot than you to get a bigger paycheck. Plus the millions and millions that are watching you on TV. And the pro days at the schools are much more confined and more comfortable, and I think, I don't know. I just like to see. You can't, I guess, necessarily make it mandatory, but the guys that show up to the combine, if they put in the work and they're ready to show out, and the guys that don't, they'll still, obviously, lots of those guys have been drafted and have had huge, some have had success, others haven't in the league. But yeah, it'd be great to see some of these top-notch athletes all competing on the same field and kind of taking the same test to see where they shake out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Back in the day, that this was a proving ground,
Yeah.
and in the showcase. And today, those stars that have already proved themselves, they do a pro day. They don't even throw sometimes, and they rest on the laurels of their tape and their season and
Yeah.
their track record. And it's all about competition, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
keep on the defensive side of the ball. We'll go kind of middle of the field in between, from a north-south standpoint, in between the D tackles and the defensive backfield, but linebackers. And what anybody you got your eye on here or would like to see get to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the class of the combine, obviously, I like Jalon Walker from Georgia, who did not show up here and did not compete, but I do like Jihad Campbell. This guy is going to be a monster at the next level from Alabama. Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon is just another tackling machine athlete, and Demetrius Knight from that South Carolina team. And all season long, the two of us had said what a defense South Carolina has between that top of the line safety, this linebacker. They had some great defensive linemen. Demetrius Knight, to me, is going to be one of the great linebackers. Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon and Jihad Campbell from Alabama.
Yeah. 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 All good names, good prospects. I had, I guess, kind of three for me, but this Madrano kid, Kane Madrano out of UCLA, which I've got two Bruins here, and talk about. But he was at the combine and showed up relatively well, 4.46 40 and 38-inch vert, decent decent size overall. I lost his stats here, but there he is. Um, what's my boy Kane? What's he coming in at? 6'3", 222. So probably put on a few lbs. We'll see where he if he makes his way into the onto the field and into the either the second string or finds a break. But the other kid I had from and we talked about this kid, I think, our last show when we were doing end of the season wrap ups. But this other linebacker out of UCLA, Carson Sweshinger, when we were talking about him going through stats for leading tackler, I think this kid had led the nation in individual solos and sacks overall. But I think it was almost near 130 to 150 solo tackles, but was just all over the field. And so this kid, I don't think he performed. I don't think he was at the combine. At least he didn't run. He did. He got almost a 40-inch vert, but he's one that potentially could find his way into a starting lineup. I would suspect after he gets picked up, drafted, and then has a chance to compete in camp in his first year, and then. I got to give props to a hometown boy who I hope gets picked up, because I think this will be a kid that'll maybe could be a bit of a journeyman, but I think he's going to find. I think he'll find himself a home or homes for a period of time in the NFL. But is our boy Jay Higgins out of Indianapolis, who attended the same high school as my boys and Finished up at Iowa as one of the all-time great linebackers at that university. Stats weren't maybe off the charts. Ran a 4.8 40, probably a little bit slow for a backer. 33-inch vert, but again, nearly led the nation. Was top five, I think, in tackles the last 2 seasons at Iowa. Great nose for the ball. He's got a tremendous football IQ. So I think they've abolished the Wonderlic test. They've gone to more of these interviews, but this is a guy he'll ace the interview, and a fantastic locker room guy. I mean, just an exceptional human being and personality. And so I think as Kittle, he's got a motor. He'll work hard, but he will engender himself to a squad and to a team. And that's, I think, some of those intangibles, I think, will make up perhaps for his lack of size and perhaps some of the stats. So hopefully our boy Jay makes Indy proud and gets a shot here come April. Either gets picked up. If he doesn't, then I think as a free agent he'll find his way to a squad and hopefully get picked up during camp.
Yeah. From that perspective, I mean, you mentioned the guy from UCLA. He reminds me of Zach Thomas. Obviously, Zach Thomas not as physically gifted as this guy from UCLA, but being in the right place at the right time, a football player that just knows the game. And I think to your point, he's going to be a mainstay in the league.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of the defensive side of the ball. Let's move to the offensive side. Why don't we start? On the with some of the bigger guys on offense, the tight ends.
Yeah, again, my guy from Penn State didn't show up, and again,
Probably doesn't need to.
Disappointing to me. But when you look at some of the tight ends, I mean, two of them that did play well and had good combines. Terrence Ferguson from Oregon.
Yeah.
Thomas Fidone from Nebraska. But I'm going to give everybody a dark horse, and you look out for this guy. He's from a very small school called Bowling Green, Harold Fannin Jr. And I believe he will be one of the best tight ends of this class.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's see.
He had a great all-star season, and I think I saw him in the East-West Shrine game, and he did very, very well. And I put a lot of stock in those showcases because it's real football, and they do play for a position in the draft, and it's just not a skill set type thing. It's on the field, and this guy, Fannin, he was the real deal, and I think he's going to show well in the draft, and I think he'll become a mainstay on the football team.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who stood out at you at tight end?
I had obviously Warren. You missed again. Michigan will have a big pro day. Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan, right? So it'll be a big pro day, and that may make sense to get all these guys on the field at one time. But he's another one that clearly will a bit of perhaps a Laporta type tight end at the next level. I would say maybe not so much a dark horse. I had Ferguson too. You mentioned Terrence Ferguson. The one you did not mention, who I think because of his genetics and having a father that played at the next level, but Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU, who is Jason Taylor's son.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Great Dolphin. Yeah. So 6'5", 250, good size on him. And this is the kid that made, I forgot what game it was, but made the game-winning catch in a big game, overtime, last season. And game on the line, clutch, and came through. But he did not perform. He'll, again, probably have a pro day, but size-wise and hands-wise, probably this kid, I think, will be eventually probably be starting in a lineup at some point at the next level, and maybe pretty early on. So those tight ends. How about wideouts? Speed guys. What you got on the wide?
Andy, when you look at the wideouts throughout the season, I think there are two that stood out, especially in the run to the championship. Was Bond and Golden from Texas.
Who's Bond?
right? Bond was, I believe, a transfer
Mm.
from Golden was a transfer too. They got both of these guys. Sark got both of these guys from the portal,
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
Golden obviously had a really good
Yeah, gold. Yeah, he did.
championship run, but
Yep.
Bond was very good as well. But
Yeah.
from a combine perspective, this guy Golden, I mean, he's a speedster. He's got good hands. I think he's going to be one of the first few running backs, wide receivers off the board. Um, you look at Jalen Newell from Iowa State. Iowa State, as you know, shout out to Shotgun Steve. They've had a few bunch of just good prospects. They've had a good season. They had a great year. Jalen Noel showed up really well at the combine, and another Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, I believe, is going to be a solid, probably be a third slot wide receiver.
Mm. Yeah. 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 Between going back to Golden and Bond, Golden stats, he was about a second faster or a tenth of a second faster on the 40. A little bit more size than Bond, but yeah, both those guys probably find their way into a lineup. But yeah, I would say Golden probably gets drafted a bit higher. Um, you didn't mention your boy Hunter, man. Your boy Trav. What do you think? What do you? Let's talk
Again,
a little
right
bit
when
about what's he going to do at the next level. You think he's going to be able to play both ways? Where's he going to
so
excel? What's going to happen?
so Andy, we're talking combine here, and this guy showed up at the combine to talk. He didn't show up at the combine to compete.
Yeah.
So it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and that's why, you know, our analysis is all about the combine. Do I think he's going to play at the next level, an integral piece at both ways? No. I think
Mm.
what he'll do is he'll be a top 3, 4 pick. I think he will play cornerback. I think that's his natural position. And I think that they will find packages for him as a slot receiver in certain situations that get him the ball. But I do not think he's going to be a major impact player on offense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would be very surprised if he's able to play both ways at the next level. He's just too small, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not a
He's
big
he's
guy.
he's gonna get yeah. He's gonna take a few licks from a couple tight ends and yeah, or a couple of these guys running downhill, and I don't think he can withstand the beatings that get issued at the next level. But so a couple other ones that and I let me see if he performed. Like I said, I didn't watch much of the combine. Nope. So you got a Buka out of Ohio State, right? He
He had
didn't
a good
show up.
season. He had a
Yeah.
very good season. He's a
Yeah.
fast. He's going to be a good pro.
Yeah. The other guy too, who didn't I don't think perform. He was at the combine, I think, to talk to people. I don't think he didn't do any of the assessments, but is this the kid out of Arizona, Teddy McMillan, right? So I think he's probably got the specs and the skills for the next level, right? 6'4", 220. It's a kid who had a breakout game, first game of the season. We thought, look out, this kid's coming on stage, but they kind of faltered after that. But my dark horse for this, so I think there's quite a bit of talent at the wide receiver level. You mentioned a number of names. My dark horse is going to be a kid who I think got shafted for the Blitnikoff this year. This kid out of San Jose State, Nick Nash, right? Triple crown winner, first in decades, out of San Jose State, 6'2.5", 203. So decent size, maybe not exceptional. 4.5 speed, decent vert at 34. But I think this kid will. Because of the program he played for, clearly performed. San Jose State was not didn't dominate from a team standpoint. Didn't have a Boise State type of season. So it wasn't like they were rolling opponents. But still, the fact that he was a Triple Crown winner out of that school, says something about his ability and his talent. So I think this kid he'll get picked up. I don't know, maybe a fourth rounder, something like that. But I think we'll be hearing about this kid in a couple years' time, 2 to 3 years, be a starter.
Andy, you're talking about dark horse at that position, and again, I'm always watching these type of Senior Bowls. The MVP of the Senior Bowl was this guy from TCU. Nobody could cover him. His name is Jack Beck,
Yeah, yeah,
and I didn't see him at the combine. He
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 was.
didn't, but this
He he
guy.
was he
Talk
was
about
there.
he was.
He was. I don't know if he.
Okay.
I
I
don't
didn't
know if
see him on
he.
the field, but you just talk about a football player. This
Yeah,
guy's going to be a player.
yeah, yeah. He didn't run.
Okay.
They don't have results for him, but 34.5 inch vert, 10.5 broad jump, bench press 19 pound or 19 times 225. So,
Okay.
um, but do you know his story though about his
No.
brother? You don't know it? Come
No,
on,
tell
man.
me.
Yeah. So his brother. So you remember the tragic events of New Year's Day in New Orleans?
Sure.
Um, his brother his brother Tiger Beck played for Princeton, and he was one of the ones who was killed in that god awful terrorist
Oh my God.
incident.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you should look it up. There's a pretty good, couple of good. I think there's one. I can't remember who. I think it was ESPN or Fox. One of the two did a documentary on it, a bit of a short on the whole thing, and yeah, it's really, I mean, it's heartwarming. But yeah, his brother was played at Princeton, and then went on to I think he's working in investment banking or Wall Street. But he and his buddy went down to New Orleans for New Year's Eve, and yeah, it was one of the 14 individuals that unfortunately perished in that terrible event. And so in that Senior Bowl game.
Yeah.
Um, he was wearing his brother's number, and the last play of the game, he caught the winning touchdown
Yeah,
in
that
that
I
game.
knew.
Yeah, so it was a bit surreal and a pretty cool story. So this kid's got a bit of extra motivation, I think. I think now that the story's been told and people have seen a bit more about his character, I suspect his interview and stuff will go well. So I think he'll find his way. He reminds me a little bit of a larger Hunter Renfro. Perhaps Renfro is a
Yeah.
little on the small side. This guy's 6'1", 214, so not huge, from a wide receiver standpoint, but just to your point, just a baller. He's a bit like cut from similar cloth as Scatterboo. Just nails tough, gritty. We'll get after it. We'll hustle. We'll do whatever it takes, I think, to find his way onto a squad, and then once he's there, to find his way on the field. So yeah, it's a good call.
Who is that guy from the Seahawks, Sergeant, in the 80s and
Oh
90s?
yeah, yeah. Steve, was it
Steve
Steve
Sargent?
Sargent? Sargent? Who was that?
That's who that
Yes,
guy reminds me of. Steve Largent.
Largent. Yeah, that's it.
He
Yeah, he was. He's a
reminds me of
legend.
Steve Largent, man.
That's right. That's old school, man. That's reaching way back.
I'm
I remember
sorry, man. I'm
number
showing my
80.
age, but
Number 80. Number
yeah.
80. Yeah,
And
number
you,
80
you
for the
couldn't cover
Seahawks.
this guy wherever he was. He found the pocket, and
Yeah.
he was open all
Yeah.
the time.
Yep. Could get open. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Good
yeah.
call. Good call. All right. When we do QBs, quarterbacks, or do you want to do running backs? Which one do you want to
Up
hit?
to you. To me, there was really,
Let's
I can
let's
take.
let's hit running backs quick because I think there are a few, but we'll hit that quick and then get to QBs.
So to me, there was only one, and that was Armorin Hampton from UNC. He had a great season,
Mm,
and he showed up very well. He's got great stats, and he's a physical specimen. I really didn't know a lot of the other ones, to be quite honest with you. They weren't household names. Genty didn't show up
yeah,
for competition. My guy from Kansas State, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, not Kansas State, Kansas.
yeah,
Um, if he ran, did he run? I know he wasn't that fast, but he. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Emmett Smith. Not
Smith.
not the fastest, but
Yeah,
just a cagey guy that puts the team on his back and he gets
yeah,
the yards.
yeah. 5'11", 213,
He's
and
built like Smith.
yeah, he was there. He ran a 4.58 and a 37.5 inch vert. So He was
Pretty
there. They
good.
got him ranked kind of 10th among combine running backs, and the view is good backup potential to be a starter. So yeah, he was there.
Okay. Who
Yeah.
stood out to you?
Well, I think from if we're just purely looking at combine performances, this kid out of Virginia Tech, man, Bashul Tutin. I mean, this guy, not again, kind of average, I guess average size for running back now, 5'9", 206. But this kid just blew the doors off, man. 4'3", 240 in a
Woo!
40 and a half inch vert and almost an 11-foot broad jump, man. So it was his performance was exceptional. Probably one of
Wow.
the best and certainly the best among running backs that was there, and one of the best in some time. So I think the view is this kid probably eventually finds his way into a starting lineup. Overall. And then we just mentioned his name a bit ago. We were talking about Beck, but our boy Scadaboo, he showed up and showed out too, man.
How do you do?
He didn't. They didn't have him run. They had him. He did the vertical and the broad jump, but they've got him. I mean, ESPN's kind of analytical thing in terms of which I don't know how they do this, like the combine rank, but he was ranked second among running backs. So they're giving this kid was I mean had a great season, obviously, but didn't really get the fanfare until late in the season. He didn't get much attention, and I think he's really, that momentum in the back half of the year, and then clearly his performance in the playoffs has boosted his draft stock immensely. So yeah, I think this kid definitely gets drafted, and it'll be interesting to see if he can keep kind of that grit. And it's just a different level, that. I mean, the grit, the toughness, the bruising running at the college level that gets you places and get you yards, get you yaks, the yard after maybe not so much the catch, but yard after contact. Um, but at this next level, dude, they're just so fast, big, and they hit like freight trains, man. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure he's a running back at the next level. I think he's a fullback, and he
Hmm.
reminds me a little bit of a guy from Syracuse, Darryl Johnston, from the
Yeah,
Cowboys.
yeah, yeah. Could be.
Moose.
The Moose. That's right. That's right. How about QBs, man?
So QB's really, Andy, a tale of two stories here. You have the story of the combine, which
Yeah.
again really is about tests,
Yep.
and you look at every single category. Brady Cook just dominated every category, won almost every category at the combine. Then you look at a guy like Tyler Shaw, who I had said to you, I
Louisville.
think I was watching the East West Shrine game, and I had called you, and this
Yeah.
guy he was dominating,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And he had a great season. I think he was a transfer, or they got him out of the portal, Louisville.
Yep. They
I
did.
think he's a third round pick, and I think he's going to be a good backup in the league. But when you saw everybody throw, Jackson Dart,
Yes.
he like when you see a pitcher, Andy, and you just watch him throw, you say, "Oh my God, the ball jumps out of his
Yeah.
hand."
Yeah.
The ball jumps out of this guy's hand.
I told you, man. He was.
Yeah, he's a talent, this guy Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Yeah. We had him as that for a small window until they lost. Who they lose to? Kentucky in the SIP, and then
Florida. They lost to
lost to
Florida, right?
Florida. After those two games, he fell out of Heisman contention. But early on in our conversations,
Yeah.
Jackson Dart was up there. He was leading the nation in passing yards. So this kid's a journeyman. He's been around the college level for quite some time. But yeah, he was a lot of the highlights on social media and a lot of the commentary around just throwing accuracy, velocity, etc. A lot of highlights on Jackson Dart. So, but there's quite a lineup, at the QB position. When you think about all these guys, I've got it. I mean, pulled up in what I can get in my screen vertically. Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milrow, Kyle McCord, Tyler Show, Will Howard. Like there are a lot of really solid and good quarterbacks from the college level. that are either were at the combine or are going to be on the board. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I've seen a lot of projections for Cam Ward going number one.
We'll see. We talk about dark horse, and this was your boy all season. I think he made three of your offensive players of the week. Kyle McCord.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I like him at the next level too. I think size wise, he's built for it. And they had him throwing. He didn't do any of the tests, so I don't have those stats. But he threw, and he was really really solid on the long ball. So over the shoulder and fades to the sideline at 50 plus yards. The guy can launch the ball. So we'll see. We'll see. But all right, folks. Well, that's a bit of a rundown, position by position. Again, Saturday Sensei here, coming back to you. We're on all your favorite podcast outlets: Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube. If you care to look at us as we go through it. But we're getting to the end of this episode this week, and mock draft. Mark, let's kind of talk who you think kind of going through. Whether it's your top 5 or kind of top 10, and then we'll wrap it up. But how do you see we've talked about the stats and those that were at the combine, how they perform, those that are, going to be at pro days and didn't show up at the combine, but where do you think things shake out?
Well, the first pick in the draft, Andy, this year is Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
unless they trade.
Yeah, which they could, because to be honest with you, a lot of people are looking for quarterback. And to your point, Cam Ward, they have Cam Ward as a potential there. To me, I think the Titans need a pass rush. I think they take the guy out of Penn State and they take Abdul Carter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got actually just reading through a couple different things, which will be interesting to see what they offer up. But I've got the Giants trading up for the number 1 pick. And I could see them taking either Cam Ward or Sanders. I think they would lean to Cam Ward, but I got the Giants kind of trending up, and they'll take him
That's
first.
Some calling a quarterback week draft. You think the Giants trade up to get
the Giants got nobody, dude.
Yeah,
they got nobody.
Yeah.
They could have and should have had what's his face, the GM from the Giants, listened to his son and told him to trade up and take Jaden Daniels in the draft last year, 2 years ago, but didn't do it. And we saw what happened when he went to Washington. But yeah, the Giants got nobody under the center or in the pocket. So I think they've got to go, and they're not gonna, for the guys that you'd want to get, they can't trade for them. The younger guys who come out the last few years. So I think this might be their best bet.
Wow, Andy, that would be something if the Giants jump the line from 3 to 1 and they take Cam Ward. I got Cam Ward going second to the Browns, and the Browns just putting this whole experiment behind them with a debacle guaranteeing $250 million to a quarterback that just can't find the field and never really materialized.
Yeah, I've got Cleveland going second and taking Sanders.
Okay.
So I've got them going to the Browns. I don't know if Cleveland's on Neon Dion's approved list of NFL teams that can draft his son, but I think potentially, I think they've got they'll pick him up, which I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. I think Cleveland continues to be a program that struggles, but could be a spot for him to start right away, which I think is probably what Shedeur wants. I don't think he or his dad are going to be patient around learning from somebody else. So and then I have Carter going to Tennessee. I just have them picking him up third, and
you do.
You feel bad.
So you have the Giants swapping with Tennessee.
Yeah, I've got Tennessee. I've got the Giants trading with Tennessee for the number 1 pick, and then Tennessee moving to number 3.
Okay, and Giants holding the number 3 pick. So I do think Shedeur.
So the Giants will give that up in the trade plus some to get the number 1. The Tennessee gets the number 3. I don't think Cleveland needs a QB. They're still now, unless there's like some blockbuster 3-way deal with Myles Garrett, and they give up Garrett, send him somewhere, and then perhaps Cleveland picks up Abdul Carter on the edge to replace him, attempt to
Yeah.
replace him, but we'll see. But yeah, I've got Carter still going to Tennessee. You feel bad he's got that medical issue because that's probably dropped him out of there. But if they stay in the number one, they don't trade. The other quarterback, well, they got Levis back there.
They
Still
do.
working
Will
through some
Levis
of
from
that.
Penn State. Abdul Carter's from Penn State. Abdul Carter, I don't think he's going to play this year, Andy. I think he's going to have foot surgery.
Well, what I read elected he's unless it's changed, but he elected not to have surgery because they called it a what did they call it? A foot. They didn't call it a stress fracture. It was like stress pressure or something. So last I read, he elected not to have it. So we'll see. We'll see if he's able to play. But how about
So
New
I
England?
do have the Giants picking 30, Andy, and I got the Giants taking Shador Sanders at
Okay,
the 3 spot.
okay. I think Shador would rather be in New York than Cleveland, just from from his social media, entertainment, bright light standpoint. I think he'd probably rather be there than Cleveland, but so we'll see. Where do you think Hunter's going to go? You got him in your top 5 or top 10? Travis Hunter.
I must have missed him, Andy. I don't have him anywhere.
Okay.
I got number 4. I got the Patriots taking Will Campbell from an offensive lineman perspective.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got the Jaguars taking Mason Graham.
Yeah.
To your point, he's a great defensive tackle from Michigan.
Yeah.
I got the Raiders taking McMillan,
Okay.
the wide receiver. Like you said, that this guy, he's going to be the first wide receiver off the board. I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's got great, great stature.
Yeah.
I got the Jets taking Mekhi Williams. They really need to get their run defense right at 7.
Okay.
I got the Panthers taking my boy from Georgia, Jalon Walker. I
Mm-hmm.
got the Saints taking Tyler Warren from Penn State. And I got the Bears. Remember when we were watching the Texas run and I said to you, who is number 74? This guy's a monster.
Yeah.
Calvin Banks.
Yeah.
So I do not have this guy in the top 10, which is probably a miss on my part. I just don't have a DB going.
Really?
Where
Yeah.
do you see this guy going in the draft, Andy?
Well, I think I think the Patriots are going to I think they take a cornerback. I think
Okay.
Vrabel's going to want to shore up his defense. So I think it's either Hunter or Will Johnson.
Okay.
Kid out of Michigan, I think goes to New England. I've got Hunter going there. Jacksonville, I've got Graham, same as you, shoring up their defense. I've got Jalen Walker going to Vegas. So
Really?
I think Carroll's going to look to bolster his defense out there and move him there. If Hunter doesn't go to New England and they take Johnson, then I'd put Hunter with the Jets right now. I got Johnson going to the Jets. I've got Mikael Williams. I've got him going to Carolina on the edge. Yeah, and then I've got this. We talked about him earlier, but the kid who showed up and showed well for A&M, but Shamir Stewart out of A&M going to New Orleans.
Top 10?
And I've got Campbell going to the Bears.
The Bears need an offensive lineman. So whether they take Campbell, whether they take Banks, they need an offensive lineman.
Yeah, they need somebody to protect Williams. So, yeah, so that's kind of who we've got in our top 10. Be interesting to see any maneuvers that are made between now and or on draft day with trades and trade ups or trade downs. So we'll see. But I've got a lot of the experts and what I've been reading got our beloved Indianapolis Colts going 14 and picking up Tyler Warren out of Penn State. So
that would
nice.
be welcome, huh?
That'd be nice. That'd be very nice to that. Nice compliment to Taylor. And if Richardson can turn things around and kind of get his head and his body straight, could be a nice little combo there. So we'll see. But anyhow, that's kind of the wrap on the combine. Our next taping, I think Mark's going to be getting together either pre or we may have maybe one or two more here. We'll see if we can get some guests lined up and get one done. But next topic will be. will be the draft, and we will probably we'll come back on closer. We'll probably do our taping beforehand, I think, Mark, and we'll revise our kind of our look at the draft, and then maybe do a post draft analysis. But yeah, that's we'll take another hiatus for probably about a month for our listeners. I know you're disappointed, but we'll be back with more NFL draft. So be interesting to see how our these initial 10 that we picked up, if pro days, interviews, again, trades between now and in April, if it changes any of that.
Yeah, we'll do a mock draft 2.0.
Yeah, maybe we'll go. Maybe we'll go first round. Maybe we'll go all the way through. We'll go through all 26 teams,
Okay.
and get. And again, some of those may trade out and pick twice, but we'll take the latest draft order that we have when we tape, and then, like I said, we'll see if we can get our boy Randy, old Memphis Young, get him on, get him taping with us, given he's the expert. This is his time to shine, and for their show, and then see if we can get our special guests lined up, which we still have been trying to work through some work scheduling and personal life challenges. So hopefully we can get that lined up. But they'll also be the expert on all things NFL and the draft. So hopefully we'll see. We'll be able to get our listeners a bonus episode here.
That'd be a great way to end the first season, Andy.
Yeah,
So looking forward to that, guys.
That's right. And we are now in March, month 3. Guess what, Mark? We're only 5 and a bit months away from college season kicking off, man.
Like I said to you, Andy, I just can't believe that this sport has turned out to be, 12 months a year. And as it bridges season into season, combine into draft into the start of a new college season. So looking forward to doing that all over again.
That's right. Well, we'll be back at you here shortly, folks, in about a month. But until then, stay safe and enjoy. If you are in the northern parts of the U.S., like Mark and I are, we are looking for warmer weather ahead. So until then, we'll probably have also a little post cap. Maybe before the actual championship, but we will have probably a bit of March Madness tourney talk in our next episode, because we'll be well into it, and we'll see where things shake out. So we may drift onto the hardcore in our next episode.
Looking forward to that as Selection Sunday nears.
All right. See y'all. Take care.
Thank you. Peace.